You're listening to The Exam Room, brought to you by the Physicians Committee. I'm sitting across the table from Dr. Steve Neabore. Welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Oh, well, appreciate you coming here today, talking about the immune system. And one of the best ways to boost your immune system is to give the show a follow on Twitter. This is a little-known fact. This is a medical fact. Follow the show on Twitter at PCRM. You're a doctor, wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, that's one of the first things they teach you in medical school.
All right, so immune system. I mean, this is a big topic for people, not just, in the fall and the winter, but
Right.
all year round, because we're talking about more than just colds and flus. Really, what you eat can dramatically affect your risk of developing chronic diseases. I know cancer specifically is one that we focus on here at the Physicians Committee.
Sure, absolutely. That's certainly true. Immunology and the immune system is its own big field, and so we'll try to break it down as much as possible today.
That said, I mean, specific to cancer, I mean, what is the link there between produce, we'll just go
Yeah.
fruits and vegetables all
Yeah.
together, and cancer-fighting properties in the body?
Yeah, that's a great question and kind of a complicated answer. So let me see what I can do. So cancer cells are your own cells that have become abnormal. Normally, cells have a mechanism where they can divide, reproduce on their own, and do it to a certain extent, but not too much. So in cancer, either something changes where they divide too much and now they grow out of control, or the brakes don't work anymore. So your body can't stop them from dividing. And in those cases, they grow into tumors a lot of the times. That's how people come to know them. Something shows up on a CAT scan or an X-ray or something like that. But what really should happen is that when those cells become abnormal, your body's own immune system, so its own police officers that make sure everything is doing what it's supposed to do, those cells that are the normal immune cells should go around and put an end to those precancerous cells before they turn into cancer. So help those cells stop dividing. So basically help those cells die on their own before they become cancer. And the link with food is, to put it simply, the antioxidants in food really give your body a boost in order to help the immune system. So one way I tell my patients to think about it is, if you or I or anyone goes out in the sun all day, eventually we're going to get sunburn and we're going to get skin cancer. But when you think about plants, they live their entire lives outside,
Right.
or at least most of them do. Some we grow inside. But if we think of the ones that are outside, they don't end up with cancer. Even though the light from the sun does damage DNA, the plants have so many antioxidants that they're able to repair that damage from the DNA before it leads to abnormal growth of cells and cancer for the plants. So when we eat those plants, specifically vegetables, the dark green leafy ones tend to have a lot of antioxidants. Those antioxidants circulate throughout our body and give us some added protection and help try to find those abnormal cells and stop them from reproducing and stop them from turning into cancer.
You really break that down quite marvelously. I'm sure that your patients love you,
Thank you.
You took that medical degree and you just kind of like simplified everything there, man. That is well done.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I think the knowledge is almost pointless to an extent if you can't give it to other people. So I try to educate my patients as much as possible and to try to make them really understand what's going on in their bodies.
And so when we're talking about that link between nutrition and cancer, I mean, we're talking about more than a dozen forms of cancer, aren't we?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I would imagine probably any form of cancer, really.
Man, that's important.
Yeah,
That's why
yeah.
you're listening to this podcast, right?
Right.
Of course, then when people talk about the immune system, one of the first things also that pops into their mind is colds and flus.
Yeah.
And obviously, we all know the link with
Yeah.
nutrition there.
Right.
Vitamin C, you were telling me there's an interesting thing here. Supplements or food?
Yeah.
Which
yeah.
is best?
So the food is best, to put it simply. There was a study a number of years ago where they compared equal amounts of vitamin C, one from a pill, so just an over-the-counter, you buy it in a bottle, versus the same amount of vitamin C in a citrus fruit, so say an orange or a grapefruit or something like that. And when they measured how active your immune system was after consuming each one of those, it was a lot more active after eating the fruit. So to put that another way, equal amounts of vitamin C are going to be better in the fruit or in the food than they are in the supplement form. So you'll get maybe a little bit of benefit from the supplement, but you're going to get a lot more benefit from the same amount of vitamin C if you consume it in a fruit.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Hey, eat
Yeah,
your
yeah.
oranges, boys and girls.
Right, and they're tasty too.
There are other foods that are high in vitamin C. Isn't broccoli high in C?
Yeah, I don't know the exact numbers on that, but vitamin C is found in a lot of foods. The ones we know specifically, or the ones that we think of, are the citrus fruits. So your oranges, your clementines, grapefruit, lemons, that kind of thing. Helps prevent scurvy also, right?
That's
You
scurvy.
become a pirate.
The scurvy will get you.
That's right.
So I mean that's cool, man. But there are other things here aside from nutrition. Let's just take a little detour here, Doc.
Sure.
And let's talk about kind of environmental factors, because I know that there's a link between your environmental factor and whether you have an overactive or an underactive immune system.
Yeah, that's a good point. So the immune system, if you think of it kind of on a spectrum between, like you just said, overactive and underactive versus right where you want it at the sweet spot of activity. If it's underactive, you're going to get sick a little bit more often. And there are certain genetic conditions and conditions that people are born with where their immune system doesn't work right. There's a missing piece or they're missing an enzyme or something like that. And they get a lot of infections. They get sick very often. Typically, people know about these because it affects very young children and newborns. So it's not like any adults out there walking around with some undiagnosed immune system disorder. They may be, but that would be very, very rare. On the other end of it, if your immune system is overactive, then you can end up with autoimmune diseases. So things like lupus, multiple sclerosis to some extent, certain other autoimmune diseases that we think about. So you want your immune system to have just the right amount of activity. So in order to keep it from being underactive, you need to give it what it needs. So your vitamins, your minerals, your nutrients, those are the raw materials for making the immune system work. I think of it, to use another analogy, I think of it kind of like a car. So you need the pieces of the car, right? You need the tires and the engine and the seats and all that stuff. And I think of those like the organs in our body. So you need your heart and your liver and your lungs and all those things. But then to make them work right, to go back to the car for another second, you need the right oil, you need the right gas, you need the right fluids for whatever else is going on in there. And so for our bodies, those right pieces and fluids are really the foods that we're eating. So if we give our bodies what they need to work properly, then they're going to almost repay us in a sense by fighting off those infections, fighting off the bacteria, the viruses, and all that stuff. But they're not going to be overactive, and hopefully we're not going to develop autoimmune diseases. And if anyone out there already has an autoimmune disease that they're dealing with, we found that switching to a plant-based diet and cutting out some of the let's call it garbage that's in the standard American diet, making that kind of change can really help bring down that overactive immune system. So it can help get you back to that sweet spot.
But true or false, even if somebody is plant-based, has a really healthy diet, but they are just living in a super sterile environment, that is also problematic, right?
It can be. I mean, they say, when you're a child and your immune system is growing, you need to be exposed to some dirt and some bacteria and things like that, just to kind of almost teach your immune system what to do. It would be like if you said, well, you're in the army, but we don't want you to ever be fighting anything, so we're not going to teach you how to fight. Your immune system needs to know how to fight. Like, that's its job. That's what it does. But, as far as adults, your immune system's probably already mostly developed at that point. There's no need really to go finding things that are going to make you sick, obviously.
That's good.
I think to some extent getting sick is probably unavoidable. You'd be surprised. I see people in the office where they say, I'm vegan, I'm never supposed to get sick. And I said, well, I don't know about that. It happens to the best of us sometimes. But I think you can bring the rate of getting sick down quite a bit. So you're not getting sick as often as you otherwise would.
Yeah, I'm actually finding that for myself. It's like typically at this time of year, I would have had at least one cold, one flu.
Right.
I haven't had so much as a runny nose yet.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Hope it stays that way.
So let's put a cap on this segment, put a bow on it, and talk about some of the best fruits and vegetables that we can eat to help boost that immune system. I know that the nice researchers here have put something together on PCRM.org that we call the Nutrition Rainbow, and really they just went and they broke it down by color. I think there's about 10 colors on here, everything from red to brown, green. Green, white, green.
There you go.
I mean, it's really complex. So go on PCRM.org and look this up. Matter of fact, PCRM.org/podcast. We're going to put a link off to this. You can print it out. It's beautiful. It's in color. It will guide you.
Put it on your refrigerator.
That's right.
There you go.
Put it in your kid's lunchbox so that way they don't complain when you put fruits and vegetables in there. So, I mean, Let's just start with fruits here.
Yeah.
I mean, what are some of the best fruits that you see on here as far
Sure.
as boosting the immune function?
Well, I know we had a little discussion on this before we started, but tomatoes, technically a fruit, right?
Technically,
Right?
Technically,
So
I'm,
that's what they say.
I'm on the fence, man.
I-
I'm on the fence about this.
Yeah, I don't really think of it as a fruit, but
No.
apparently it is. It has seeds in it, right? So.
Mm.
Yeah. All right. Well, anyway, regardless of how you want to think of it, tomatoes are great. Help out your immune system. They have lycopene in there, which is a pretty strong antioxidant. And then just going, even going down the list, carrots are fantastic. Sweet potatoes are also great. We mentioned the oranges, which citrus fruit is fantastic. And then the dark green leafy vegetables are also really great. So the spinach and the kale and the broccoli. And then we all think of berries, or a lot of people think of berries as antioxidants, and in fact they are. Some of the more potent antioxidant fruits out there are berries, so blueberries, blackberries. Really, though, I want to say that I think really the best food is the one that you're going to eat regularly.
Right.
So everyone has their own taste buds, and some people like things that others don't. So if you go down this list and you find something that you like, stick with it. There's no problem with eating these things every day. If you tell me I love strawberries and I want to eat a box of strawberries every day, I would say more power to you. That's fantastic. So, for me to say you need to eat this fruit, or this fruit. I think I just put fruit and food together into fruit. But to
It's
say
a thing, man. It's a thing.
it is now. But to say you need to eat this certain vegetable or this certain fruit every single day, a lot of people don't really stick with that, and some people get kind of turned away by it. So I usually ask people what they like to eat, and if they tell me they like berries or they like spinach or whatever it is, I say that's great. Go with it. Really, anything on here is gonna help your immune system function.
Right. So I guess think back to childhood, the kid who doesn't want to eat its Brussels sprouts,
Yeah,
So
yeah.
the kid's onto something. As an adult, still don't eat those Brussels
Yeah.
sprouts, but find something that does work for you.
Right, exactly. And if you like them, hey, like I said, more power to you.
So we've got at least 20 on this list here. As a doctor, just
Yeah.
your personal taste, man.
Sure.
What are some of your favorites?
Oh man, I love the citrus fruits. Anybody who works with me will tell you I eat a grapefruit pretty much every single day, at least during the winter time when they're in season. And in the summertime, watermelon is my favorite. I'll eat that every day. I think I would eat that for breakfast, lunch, and dinner if it were socially acceptable.
Oh, watermelon is a thing. I can't tell you. My wife, she's on TV, and I can't tell you how many segments she does with these chefs that come in, and they have these watermelon dishes, and
Yeah.
every time
Yeah.
it's something different. They're infusing different flavors in there. Like, have you ever put mint with your watermelon?
I feel like I've probably had a drink with that at some point, maybe. But
How was that? I mean, that just seems like a bizarre pairing to me.
yeah, I don't know. I think it was good, but it's been a long time, so maybe we'll try it again after.
All right, man. Well, look, Dr. Neabore, thank you
Yeah.
so much for joining us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Again, all of this information is on pcrm.org/podcast. Check it out, print it out, and be sure to stick around. More of the Exam Room brought to you by the Physicians Committee right after this.